Hey Tuvies, it's Psychic Bob. It is so good to be with you. Well, welcome to UFO Friday, and also we got a holiday weekend. It's Memorial Day weekend. Woo! Hope you guys are off and relaxing now and getting ready just to cruise into the weekend. Well, Psychic Bob wouldn't forget you, and I want to say thank you. By the way, thank you for coming out to yesterday's video. We had Zodiac Thursday. That was a lot of fun. We talked about the dark moon in Gemini. If you didn't see that, check that out. It's in the queue right before this video. Well, today I want to come here and talk about a subject. I've been wanting to talk about this a while, but it just seems that everything gets in the way. But I want to talk about flying saucers. And you say, what? Flying saucers aren't real. Okay, well, you know why everybody mocks flying saucers? It's because nowadays all the UFOs that people are seeing are the giant triangular craft or the biomorphic craft that change shapes. Those are all valid UFOs. But what started it all was flying saucers. That's right. And nowadays, when you say, oh, I believe in flying saucers, people kind of mock you. But if you say, oh, I believe in UFOs, I believe in transdimensional craft, people get that. But what a lot of people don't realize is that it really all started with flying saucers. And what's interesting is one of the first recorded incidences that really hit the big time was back in 1947. In 1947, there was a crash in Roswell, New Mexico. And I've been there. I actually went to Roswell, and I can tell you it all really happened. But in 1947, a craft went down on a ranch in New Mexico. And people saw it literally go down. And the military went out there to investigate. They saw the incoming thing. They didn't know if it was a missile or something. You have to remember this is right after World War II. So people are watching the skies. They're always paranoid, like, maybe the Russians are going to bomb us or the Nazis might come back. So they definitely were watching. So they saw this craft go down. And what's interesting, it went down on a ranch. And the guy who originally found it was one of the ranchers, the guy who owned the ranch. And he went out and he, I guess called the police or called somebody, but military swarmed the place. And according to the official record, they recovered a flying disc, probably about 20 feet in diameter, silver metallic color. And there were also bodies on the ground around the disc. Now, what's interesting is the people that were there later testified. They've all testified that this really happened. They wrote a news article about it. In fact, let me put up a picture of the newspaper article. Here this is. And this was actually published and released. Well, then the next day, the military said, oh my God, this is really alien. The story was pulled and a reissue was released that basically said it never happened. But there were people who were there at the time who were witnesses and have over the years testified. You might want to explore. There's a book by Colonel Russo called The Day After Roswell. Anyways, that book, I'll see if I can put a graphic up here for you if I can get it. Day After Roswell. That book basically tells the whole story in detail, and I would recommend that you read that. Now, why this is interesting is that this started a nationwide craze of obsession with UFOs. For any of you who are around in the 1950s, you'll remember that everything became flying saucer oriented. It became actually part of pop culture. In fact, people got into it at Halloween time. Look at this Halloween decoration. Isn't that cute? A witch on a flying saucer. I love that. But it shows that in the public consciousness, they believed in flying saucers. And in those times, it seems that the majority of the sightings were saucers. In fact, I'm going to show you some pictures from that era, from the 1940s, 1950s, of flying saucers. So check these out. So, for people who want to criticize you and say, oh, that's no such thing as flying saucers were the original UFOs. Now, I like to say that the aliens who flew them have all evolved, just like we've evolved on Earth. If we look at a 1947 automobile, like a Ford automobile, and we look at a 2017 Ford automobile, put them together, they're going to look absolutely different. Why should the aliens be any different? They've evolved from flying saucers into triangle crafts into biomorphic crafts. I think anybody who follows the history of ufology will see that there's clearly evolution in technology among the aliens. Now, who were in those flying saucers? What people were in there? Well, it's actually believed there are multiple races in the flying saucers. One were the gray aliens. The alien bodies that were recovered at Roswell, New Mexico, were gray aliens, okay? They had rounder eyes rather than the large oval eyes like we see today, but they were still gray aliens. The people from planet Venus and Mars and Saturn were all also seen in UFOs that were saucer-shaped. George Adamski, who I really recommend you read his books, wrote about his encounters with the aliens. And they would meet him in the desert. They would bring down from their giant mothership these smaller lunar or these saucer craft down to the surface of the Earth. And so we know that the humanoids, the Pleiadians, the Martians, the Saturnians, all of them, the Venusians, all have UFOs that were saucer-shaped or had them at that time. And also the Pleiadians. So Billy Meyer, who lived in, or lives, I don't know if he's still alive, he's in Switzerland, I believe he's still alive, had encounters with the Pleiadians. And he used to photograph saucers over his property. In fact, let me show you some of those. Now, those pictures were taken in the 1960s and 1970s that Billy Meyer photographed. So even as late as the 1970s, many of the beings were still using saucer craft. Now, these days, you don't really see or hear about the saucer craft as much. But I've heard through the grapevine, and I think it's true, that they're making a comeback. I don't know that they ever stopped using them, but they're now appearing again. There have been numerous sightings over the country of Mexico in broad daylight with disc crafts flying over. Let me put a picture up here of a mass sighting. So as you can see, it looks like the flying saucers are coming back. So for anybody who's saying, oh, well, you know, that's science fiction. No, no, no. Flying saucers were the original UFOs. They're still in existence. And if you see one, don't dismiss and say, oh, well, that couldn't be a UFO. It's a flying saucer. That must be a hoax. Because the truth is that they're reappearing. And I think, you know, there's an old saying, everything that's old is new again. So when you go out and you scan the skies, look for saucer craft as well. Because everybody's looking for the giant triangle craft. And they say, well, I didn't see anything. but you might have a saucer go right by, and you might be tempted to dismiss it, say, oh, it's probably just a helicopter. But know that the saucers are real. They're all back. Now, saucers are taking all different sizes. There's small saucers just for an individual person, all the way up to saucers that are large, the size of motherships. So, saucers are coming in shapes and sizes and forms. They all tend to be rather consistent in that they appear as a silver color. They seem to be very smooth. People that have had encounters with them say that up close they appear seamless. They don't seem to be like, doorways. That doorways materialize in the metal somehow. Very fascinating. Could this be a sign of trans-dimensional reality? That may be the beginning of the biomorphic craft, okay? Now, just to throw in a little metaphysical mumbo jumbo here. Some of you may remember back when I taught the Merkaba meditation. And I said, as you do the Merkaba, you spin the Merkaba, and I won't go into that, but if you go to my front of my YouTube channel, there's a Merkaba class that talks about this in that list. It shows pictures that the Merkaba energy expands out in a spherical form, kind of an elliptical form. And interestingly, the energy that was released and has been seen by witnesses of people who have mastered it said it looks like UFOs. So, are they traveling in ships of light? Many people have seen UFOs glowing. In fact, in the 1950s, over the Capitol, one of the most famous sightings of UFOs took when an entire fleet of saucer craft flew over the Capitol. This was captured by newsmen, cameramen, local reporters. It was in the Washington Post, the Washington Star, all the local papers, the Baltimore Sun. All of them had pictures of those craft. So let me show you those. Take a look at this. So, we have to ask, well, what's the technology? Well, it appears, at least early ones, they were basically mechanical. But it does seem over time they've shifted to having almost a biomorphic element. And if we consider the power of the Merkaba meditation, could the Merkaba have come from advanced beings who come from the stars? Well, many people who have mastered Merkaba have said that Merkaba has allowed them to interact with galactic beings. So perhaps the flying saucers at some point become energy projections of the physical body of whoever's doing it. Fascinating, fascinating stuff. So anyways, guys, I just want to come here, share these ideas with you. Think about that. Tell me in the box below, have you ever seen a flying saucer, or do you believe in flying saucers? What's your experience with flying saucers? I'd love to hear it. Let's have a discussion. All right, guys. Well, listen, I'm going to keep it short. Psychic Bob is busy with readings. By the way, thank you to all of you who are calling for private readings. We are going to get back to you. If you want to get on my schedule for a private reading, send me an email. Readings@robert-hickman.com will get you on, okay? I love you guys. Listen, keep it here at Spirit Channel. Tomorrow is Saturday, and you know what that means? Saturday night seance. That's right. And you know what? I didn't bring them here. If you get a chance, pop over to my website. I don't have them here. Pick up a copy of my books as well. You can get those at robert-hickman.com. Pick up some reading. We'll see you soon. I love you guys. We'll see you here tomorrow for the seance. But until then, may you blessed be.